Hey all, John deRoulet, Head of Revenue Management Education here at Wheelhouse, and today we're going to talk about some data in Destin, Miramar Beach, PCB, pretty much all across the Florida Gulf Coast. We're getting ready to host a revenue management kind of town hall specific to this region. So we're doing a call. We're going to invite property managers, revenue managers from all over the area. We're going to have a conversation about strategy, conversation about performance, and we're going to pull up some data together. So if you'd like to join this deep dive call, please shoot us a message and we'll get you on the list. In the meantime, I wanted to give you a quick overview just to give you an idea of some of the things we're going to be talking about. So let's dive right in. Right now, I've got pulled up Wheelhouse's Destin market reports. If you didn't know, market reports are free, so you can see this kind of top-level data by just signing up with Wheelhouse. And we're just going to take a quick look here. So if I hop over here to the trends section, I'm going to take a look at occupancy. I've been talking to a lot of people in the area, and across the Gulf Coast, across the Eastern Atlantic, we're seeing pretty soft March coming up. So year kind of started out pretty optimistic with January and February, but since then we've seen quite a bit of attrition, and that's pretty evident here in Destin. If I pull up Panama City Beach, we're seeing a similar trend here, pretty stable for January, February, but then this drop off in March. And finally, if I pull up Santa Rosa Beach, we see it a little bit here, although not quite as pronounced as the other two markets that I just pulled up. So kind of the theme that I've been hearing, definitely affecting the Gulf Coast and in other areas, is March is just not showing up this year quite the way people expected. And so really, why is that the case? What are people doing about it? That's the big question. If we pull up a more detailed level, and right now I'm looking at Destin again, you can see, looking forward, we're just not seeing these big spikes that really appeared. So these big kind of like highly compressed date ranges are not near as compressed this year. Now, obviously, part of that is going to be Easter. If we look at the second weekend and the first weekend of April, that revenue is not going to be there this year. It's going to be a little later. But I do think it's interesting to note that we're still not quite at the market level seeing a big differentiation for Easter, kind of like we saw for March. If we go back in time a little bit, again, so that last compression time period in March wasn't showing up, and the first one didn't either. So without those big compression time periods, we're seeing a big kind of loss in occupancy for the month. And then again, looking forward, we're not quite seeing those big spikes yet for April to kind of make up for it. So there's just seems to be a missing piece of consumers. If you watched our data deep dive we did in January, we started to see some early signs of that. The overall bookings in the time period were down, and that gap just continued, really leaving people to scramble and have to be really competitive in the short term. At the market level, this is a trend that we're seeing kind of across all of these different markets as well. So I pulled up PCB, and in Panama City, we see a similar trend here. In fact, that Easter time period from last year is actually a little bit worse. Still not quite seeing the bump ups in April that we might expect. And when I pull up Santa Rosa Beach, similar trend again. Although the interesting thing about about Santa Rosa Beach is we do see that this year we are reaching some of those points on some dates. Looking back at Destin, at PCB, those really peak dates last year, we really weren't hitting that level. This year, we actually are hitting that a little bit. Obviously, this is gone, but we're also starting to see that Easter kind of pop up. So if you're in Santa Rosa Beach, there's definitely some things looking pretty good there. Looking forward, we're looking to be more on track with last year. Not totally sure why that is. We might dig into the asking rates a little bit and see how people are pricing. And overall, you can see that in Santa Rosa Beach, there's been a pretty strong willingness to drop the rate in the short term under where they were historically. We're still seeing a little bit of a premium out here, which is interesting. But overall, kind of keeping the rate a little bit tighter in with last year. Maybe that's resulting in just a little bit higher booking volume than the other markets around it. Just to give you a little example of a comparison, this is PCB. And while we have started to drop the rate in the short term here, we haven't done it by much, and then especially out in the summer, these rate premiums are still remaining pretty high. So a little bit difference in behavior between Destin, PCB, and Santa Rosa, but all of them having a little or a lot of attrition in March. So really the question becomes, with March kind of underperforming, a little bit unknown about how Easter is going to go, what does that mean for the rest of the year, and what are people doing? That's the question that we want to talk about on this call. So if you want to meet with us and talk about what your strategies are, hear what other people in the area are thinking and doing, and also we'll pull up some booking window data like this so that we can see really where the market is right now. This is for Destin, and it shows us the 20. And we'll do some really cool comparisons just to see what we can expect, where the bookings are, and if that demand is really keeping pace with the historicals. And if it's not, what we can do about it. So if you're interested in joining our call, please shoot us a line. We'll get you on the list. And otherwise, I hope you found this helpful in the meantime. Thanks and have a great day. Bye.